Welcome to Baby and Me story time. This is my daughter, Marilyn. Hey, mamas, do you see yourself? Right there. Say hi. Hi, everybody. So we'll see how this goes with having her here. So let's get started with the questions. I will try not to make this video super long. So, I said story time instead of Q&A because it's more like a story what I'm going to say about what happened. And as I'm saying the story, I'm going to be answering the questions. Unless some of them I can't answer as I'm going at the end, I'll answer those questions. So, first of all, everybody's anxious to know about how I found out I was pregnant. But before that one, there was one good question. One of my friends asked that she had talked to me a few months before I got pregnant, and she remembers me telling her that me and my husband wanted to wait a few years to try for a baby. So she asked, what happened? What ended up happening? So the thing was that at that moment when she asked me, we were house hunting. So we were planning to buy a house. And, you know, with mortgage, more bills and all of that, we were trying to hold back on a baby to see if we could do that. But, you know, we tried looking for a few months. And we did find some houses, but we put in offers and we just didn't end up getting one. So we kind of just gave up. We were like, okay, where we live, it's nice. You know, maybe it's not our time. So we'll try another time. So since we didn't buy a house, we really needed a car. So he bought me a car. And after that, we started thinking like, you know, we have a decent home where we live. We're pretty much stable. We're married. We've been together for a long time. We have a baby-friendly car. We don't have that two-door sports car no more. We have, you know, a nice family car. So we said it'd be nice maybe to have a baby to feel complete. And I had heard from other friends, you know, because we had been married for almost 4 years, people asking us, when will you have a baby? When will you have a baby? So the pressure was a little bit on. But in this case, even though we had a lot of pressure from friends and family, this was a decision me and him made. We had heard from other people say, well, you should try because sometimes it takes half a year, or more than a year to conceive. And since we hadn't tried, both of us didn't have children before we got married. So we said, we don't know how long it will take in our case. So we decided after his 25th birthday, we were going to try for a baby. And little did we know, I got pregnant right away. Like within less than a month, I was pregnant. So yes. So here's the story of how I found out, how did I tell everybody, and how my birth went. So here's how it happened. So we started trying for a baby in the month of October, and everything was fine. I was feeling good. And then in November, it was like the first week of November, we went bar hopping with my cousin and her husband. And we went to a Kings game, you know, normal, where we were not parents. We were young, married. So no worries, we could go out and have some drinks. So we did. Now, the next morning, I started with the pain. I didn't mind it a lot because I thought, you know, my cycle's probably about to start. I don't know. It's normal. I had felt those pains before, so I didn't mind much of it. And then, mind you, this is about 2-3 weeks since we started trying. So my pain got stronger. So it was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That Wednesday, I was in really bad pain. And this is early November. My pain was so bad that I was bending like over. I couldn't walk. my side was swollen, and I told my husband, you know what, this is not normal. This pain is really bad and it's really strong. And I hadn't had it like this. Like, I'm scared. What if something's going on inside of me? I don't know. So I told him, can you take me to urgent care? So we went to urgent care, and this was on, so he took me, but what ended up happening was that urgent care was already closed. It was not a 24-hour urgent care. So we came home, and I'm crying, I'm in pain, and I even told him, let me try warm pads, or, you know, the little packets, and let me see if that helps soothe the pain. Because, like I said, it might be that I will start my cycle soon. So I did that, and the pain went away a little bit, but not a lot. I still had it, but I was able to bear with it. So I didn't think it was that bad to go to the emergency room. So now the next day, it just got bad again. And I told him, you know what? Let's try to go again. Urgent care's open right now. When he got off of work, I'm like, we need to go. And I told him, like we all do, I looked on Google, my symptoms, and I had nausea, really bad pain. I had some spotting. By then, I was spotting. So that kind of worried me a little bit. And we go to urgent care, and according to my symptoms, it was an ovarian cyst rupture that came up. And when I was younger, I did have an ovarian cyst, but it wasn't that bad. So when I got to urgent care, I told the doctor, you know what, I looked up my symptoms. I did have this when I was 14. It's very similar, but this time it just hurts so much more. And then he asked us, are you pregnant? And I said, not that I know of. We started trying, but I don't think I'm pregnant. So they said, well, we need to do a pregnancy test. And I'm like, fine, go for it. So they did a pregnancy test, and he told me it was a negative. So I wasn't pregnant. Then he proceeded to check me, and he said, wow, like, you do have an inflammation going on. He gave me hydrocodone, I think that's what it is, which is a narco. So that's what the doctor gave me, and he said, it does look, by what I'm feeling and but by what I see in your symptoms, that it could be an ovarian cyst rupture. He's like, now here at urgent care, we don't have the tools that we need to do an ultrasound for you. He said, I don't know if the cyst was big and it ruptured inside your ovary or it ruptured outside your ovary. If it ruptured outside, the bleeding might be that it hurt one of your tubes, and if it's inside and your pain is that bad, it might have ruptured your ovary. So at that point, I got so scared, and the first thing that came to my mind was, oh my God, if that's what's going on, what if I can't have babies, you know? So I told him, what do we do? Do we go to urgent care? He said, no, I'm just going to give you a referral for an appointment, and they're going to call you. Unless you feel the pain worsening, I would recommend for you to go to urgent care if you have more go to the emergency room, or if you have more bleeding. He said, but somebody will give you a call back. I'm going to refer you so you could get an ultrasound done, and from there we will proceed. He said, because if the cyst ruptured inside your ovary or something worser, he said, which I hope not, you might need to get your ovary removed. So at that point, oh my God, kid you not, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I came home crying, and I told him, see, why did we wait so long to try for a baby? You know, maybe if we would have tried earlier, none of this would have been happening. What's going to happen? I might need surgery. So I was just thinking the worst. So then they called me the next day to tell me that it was time to schedule my appointment for an ultrasound. So the only problem was that they didn't have any appointments available till within a week. And they told me the same thing. If the pain worsens, if you have more bleeding, we would suggest that you just go directly to the hospital. But if you make it to your appointment, we will see you here on a Wednesday, November 16th. So a week goes by, and like I'm telling you guys, I was just so scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was just thinking the worst case scenarios. I even brought up the fact about adopting. I'm like, well, we can have kids. I don't mind adopting. And he was trying to comfort me and say, don't worry, babe. It's all going to be okay. if it comes to that, you know, I don't mind us adopting babies. That's not going to change anything between us. So that made me feel a little bit better. So the day comes, and I was just going to go with him by myself. But then my mom called me, and she's like, I'm coming with you. And I'm like, no, Mom, I'm grown. I don't need you to come with me. And she's like, no, you think I'm going to leave you? I'm always there for you and your brother and your sister. And she said, your husband doesn't know, you know, about woman stuff. She's like, I'm a mom. I've been through things. I could help you ask other questions. She's like, what if you're nervous and you forget to ask certain things? And she's like, I'll help you make the best decision for whatever they're going to tell you, but I want to be there for you. So my mom, we picked her up in the morning, and my appointment, I remember, was at 8 in the morning. So it's my husband and my mom, and we get there, and then when I'm just shaking, and when they call my name, my heart just like dropped. So I walk in there, they make me change because they're getting me ready for the doctor that she's going to come and check me. And my husband stayed in the waiting room. He said, no, go with your mom so you'll feel more comfortable. That's girl stuff. If you need me, I'm going to be out here waiting for you. So I said, okay. So my mom goes in there with me. And then the MA starts asking all these questions. What's going on? What's up with the pain? So I told her what happened in urgent care. That, you know, the doctor diagnosed me with the ovarian cyst rupture, but they didn't know if it was outside of my ovary and the inside. I might need surgery to get it removed. So she asked me, do you have any kids? And I said, no, we were, you know, barely trying. Like, I really felt ready. We felt ready for a baby. So, and I told her, and I've had some spotting, you know, and I feel uncomfortable. So all these things. And then she's like, don't worry, you know, did you know that people even with one ovary could have children? So I'm just like, this girl, she's just trying to comfort me, you know, like, I don't want to hear it. Just get to whatever you're going to do. So then she tells me, oh, I need you to go to the restroom because we're going to proceed to do a pregnancy test. And I said, I don't need a pregnancy test. They just took one a week ago and it turned out negative. Like, I have this horrible pain. I have spotting. Like, I don't think it's necessary. And she said, well, I'm sorry, but, you know, it's protocol. Like, we have to do the pregnancy test. So I said, okay. So I walk in the bathroom. I give her whatever she needs. And then I walk back with my mom in the room, and we're just there kind of waiting. So then the MA walks in, the one that I had just spoken to that I really wanted a baby and stuff. And she just goes, congratulations, you're pregnant! And when she told me that, I just felt like I was confused. Like, my heart stopped, my ears, I could feel them ringing. Tears just started falling out. I was confused. And I remember I felt excitement. I was so excited, like, oh my God, like, I'm pregnant. Is this real? Pinch me. But at the same time, in my head, it was like so many questions. Like, why do I have this pain? Why am I spotting? Can it be a miscarriage? What's going on? Is something else wrong with me? And then I turned around and I remembered my mom was there. And when I looked at my mom, I'm like, and I was scared because I felt like she was going to get mad at me. At that moment, I feel like a 15, 14-year-old sitting at the doctor's office with your mom and they're telling you that you're pregnant. So I don't know why I thought that. I just thought that was funny. And then when I see my mom, she's bawling her eyes out. And she goes, really? And then the MA says, yeah, congratulations, you're going to be a grandma. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to be a mom. I'm pregnant, Mom. And I just start crying. My mom gets up, she hugs me, and she said, it's going to be okay, you see? She's like, I was praying for you, and I knew nothing was going to be wrong. Everything's going to be okay. So I'm just like, oh my God, like, how am I going to tell my husband? How am I going to tell him? Like, they just told me that I'm pregnant. And as I was thinking that, so many things were going in my head. I couldn't keep focused. So then the doctor finally comes in and says, well, congratulations. It's not an ovarian cyst or rupture. You're pregnant. Maybe this is implantation bleeding. So then she told me, you're already 4 weeks and 3 days. And I'm like, 4 weeks and 3 days? So, they can't always get it accurate, but that was what they gave me. And by then it was about a month that I started, like 2 weeks with my pain. So probably I was already pregnant 2 weeks before that night out. So who knows? And she did check me and she told me that the bleeding was a lot and that it might not be normal. So that I could be miscarrying and the inflammation and all that stuff. And she told me that they had a ultrasound there, but for it being so early in my pregnancy, I needed a special ultrasound. And so with that, they couldn't even check if the baby, had a heartbeat or what was going on. And she scared me. She told me that maybe I was having a ectopic pregnancy, which is when the baby develops inside the ovary and it's less likely for the baby to make it. So in that case, I would have to have surgery and get the baby removed. So again, it's like, I'm super happy because we really wanted a baby and because I'm pregnant. But at the same time, they're telling me all these horrible things that they're scaring me. So I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to feel about this. I don't want to get too excited. And then them telling me, your pregnancy can't proceed or what's going to happen. So then they scheduled me another appointment within another week. And she also told me, I'm going to do blood work for you. So come back Thursday, go to the lab, and then you have to come again Friday, she said, in the morning, so I could get the results to you by Friday afternoon. So I said, okay. So they did lab work, and they wanted to check the HTC levels, which is the pregnancy hormone. She said, if it goes down, that means between your test, actually it was that same day, between your test today and your test Friday, so comparing Wednesday to Friday's results, if your HTC levels go down, that means you're miscarrying. If your levels stay the same, that means that it's an ectopic pregnancy. It could be an ectopic pregnancy. If your levels go high, that means the pregnancy is progressing. So I did my lab work, and then I come back Friday, and then the doctor had told me, call me if I don't call you by 1 p.m. That Friday to give you the results. So she didn't call me. So I called in, and they're like, oh, she's not in. She's at lunch. And I called a little bit later. Oh, she's not in the office. And I'm like, well, I'm just calling for these test results. Sorry, we can't disclose this with you. The doctor has to talk to you. I'm like, oh my goodness. So then came Saturday and Sunday, and the office was closed. And then Monday, for my luck, Monday was a holiday. I think it was a holiday. I forgot. I think it was a holiday. I don't know what happened, but the thing was that the place was closed. And just imagine not knowing what's going to happen, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. When we got out of the doctor's office, I had texted my husband to go to the car and that he could just wait for me over there. And I remember walking out with my positive pregnancy test, my proof, and like, how am I going to tell him? And my mom was like, are you going to tell him already? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I started crying on the way to the car because I told my mom, this is not the way I wanted you to find out. I already had a Pinterest board on how I was going to reveal it to you and Dad and everybody and him. And my mom's like, well, you know what? Some things you just can't plan. They come when God wants it to happen. So she's like, but are you going to tell him? And I'm like, I don't know. Should I? She's like, yeah, he has to know. He's worried for you, thinking all these things are going wrong. So just tell him. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, amping myself like, okay, how am I going to tell him? How am I going to do this? So when I get in the car, I get in the passenger side and my mom goes in the back seat. And then he goes, so what happened? And at that moment, I didn't know if to cry or to be happy because, like I said, I was having mixed emotions. We didn't know what was going to happen with the pregnancy. And I kind of felt a guilt feeling like, what if I tell him and he gets happy and then we come back for my other testing and then they tell me that this pregnancy can't proceed. So it was just a lot going on. So I'm like, well, here's the paper. Look what they gave me. And when he grabbed it, he hadn't even looked at it. When my mom jumps behind him and goes, "You're gonna be a dad!" and like shakes him. And I'm like, whoa, Mom, like calm down. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pregnant. He's like, but how? How are you pregnant? Like, how is that possible? Didn't they tell you how to cyst? Like, what's gonna happen with the bleeding and your pain? He's like, and they gave you medicine. Is the medicine better for the baby? Like, and then I'm like, I don't know. So then I explained to him what they had told me, that we needed further testing, that it could be an ectopic pregnancy, that I could be going through miscarriage. So it was just like an awkward silence in the car from the doctors all the way back home. And until my mom said, are you going to tell your dad? Because my dad didn't go to work that day. So I'm like, sure, I'm going to tell him. And my dad loves Starbucks. So I asked my husband, can we stop at Starbucks really quick? And I asked for them to write on the cup, for the future, for my grandpa. And then on the corner, they said July 2017. So I get home and I tell my dad, Dad, look, somebody sent you a little something. And I'm like, read it. And then, so at that time, my husband dropped me and my mom off at my mom's house because I think he was so overwhelmed and in shock. He's like, I'm going to go home, okay, and take a shower because it was too early and then I'll come back and pick you up. Like, I'm thinking he didn't want to show his emotions to me because he felt bad too and he didn't want to make me feel worse. So by that time he was at our house. So I tell my dad, here, Dad, look, somebody sent you something. And mind you, I have a little Yorkie and his name is Chance. And I call him Papa's. And then I tell the dog to call, like, go with Grandpa, talk to Grandpa. And so it's just to be funny because by then we didn't have no kids. So then the coffee says, oh, to my grandpa. But my dad was covering with his finger the part that said July 2008. And he reads it and then he looks down at the dog and he says, thank you, Chance. And I'm like, no, Dad, it's not from Chance. Like, move your finger, read what it says. And he kind of paused. And he's like, what? And I'm like, you're going to be a grandpa. I'm pregnant. And he goes, really? And that by then his eyes were filling up with tears because my dad had been telling me, I'm ready, I want to be a grandpa, I want you to have a baby. And then he looks at my mom and he goes, really? And she's like, yeah, you're going to be a grandpa. He's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it, I'm so happy. And right away, my dad was like, let's go to the store. Like, how are you going to tell your brother? How are you going to tell your sister? But then I'm like, Dad, like, calm down, Like, I don't want to get too happy. They're telling me these things. And he's like, I don't care. Just take care of yourself. Everything's going to be okay. You'll see. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy the news. And he took me to the store. And I remember he bought baby Jordans. The baby's first Jordans. And I'm like, oh my God, Dad. Like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, I can't wait. I'm going to spoil this baby. My dad was like, he showed it more than my mom. My mom was super excited. But I think my mom was more like, trying to comfort me, and she even told me after, she's like, Mija, I was so excited, but I feel bad. I didn't want to get your hopes too high and then them tell you something bad. So she's like, so I kind of try to stay just neutral for you to try to help you keep calm, because what if everybody got so excited and then what we didn't want, we heard what we didn't want to hear, So